Namaste and welcome to our continuing series, The Life Divine with Ranganath. We are on chapter Indeterminates, Cosmic Determinations and the Indeterminable. And the page number is 323 and we will begin explaining the last paragraph.
Overmind consciousness. We start from there. But the normal procedure we follow is, I give you the summary of what you said earlier so that we get the sense of continuity. So I am reading out the summary of what he said earlier. You won't find it in the text. It is something that I have written out. Okay, so now, how to go beyond mind? By silencing it. Then we perceive a witness consciousness watching, observing all movements of lower nature without judgment, uninvolved, objective, unconcerned. This is what you call the witness consciousness, or you can also call it the self or the Brahman consciousness. It's a consciousness which is immutable, no movement at all, featureless, no features at all, but absolutely real. Infinite, eternal, immutable, featureless. This is the experience of going beyond the mind, okay, by silencing it. But then it rises higher and becomes Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Ishvara, Master. All these different levels of consciousness are possible. In the beginning, you feel that you have no power over your left. You feel yourself to be separated. You are only witness. But slowly, you realize that you are the permission giver, you are the supporter, and you are the enjoyer, and you become the master finally. Purusha graduates, grows from mere witness to master and controller. Okay? That's what he said in the previous one. So, you go up to the overmind consciousness. In the second level, the spiritual planes of consciousness, you start with the higher mind, which is like a broad daylight. When we are in our normal consciousness, we are like in a candlelit room. Our mind is limited and we have to look for truth. We have to look for solutions. We have to look for the problems, how to solve. We have to look for it as though we are in a candlelit room and we have to look into each corner with strain. But when you go into the higher mind, it's like a broad daylight. You don't have much to think. Srimad uses the word galley slave labor. So the labor of the mind is gone and you start seeing everything like in broad daylight. That's a higher mind. But above the higher mind, as you keep climbing, illumined mind, intuitive mind, overmind. So now he is going to describe to you the overmind consciousness. Okay, so overmind consciousness is such a state or principle beyond individual mind, beyond even universal mind in the ignorance. Okay, so universal mind in the ignorance is what we are in the normal consciousness. My mind is a individual mind, but it is part of the universal mind. Whatever is there is a correlation between the individual and the universe. Whatever is there in the universe is there in the individual in a condensed form, in a very limited form. There is a universal mind plane, I have an individual mind plane. Okay, there is a universal field of prana, energy, Shakti, and I have my vital there. It's a small portion of that. So, universal mind, when we are there, overmind consciousness is far above the universal mind even. So, level 1, we are in ignorance. We are in the individual mind, but we are part of the universal mind. Okay, like the wave and the sea. The wave is individual, but it is part of the sea. So our mind is like the wave and it is part of the universal mind plane of consciousness. So there we are in ignorance. So I'm just saying, what is ignorance? We see multiplicity and we think it is real. Okay? That's the definition of ignorance. We see many forms and we think that these forms are the reality. They are not. They are only forms which come and disappear. He is describing this consciousness. So it's just, first of all, statement is, it is beyond the individual mind, even beyond the universal mind. Okay? It carries in itself a first direct and masterful cognition of cosmic truth. So, but it's a first. There are other planes which are even more direct and even more masterful. So, it carries in itself a first direct and masterful cognition of cosmic truth. Let's understand the word direct, very important. When we are in the normal consciousness, our knowledge is indirect. Why? Because we use instruments of knowledge. Between the object to be known and the subject, which is my consciousness, there are the senses which are allowing me to see. So it is indirect. But when you go to the overmind consciousness, you don't need senses. Your consciousness is directly contacting the object to be known. That is what is meant by direct. In other words, you can say identification. My consciousness identifies itself with the consciousness of what I want to know. That's the meaning of direct. Okay? Indirect is what we have in our normal consciousness. There is something in between the subject and the object. Beyond even universal mind in the ignorance, it carries in itself a first direct. It's only a first direct. There are other directs also, second direct, third direct. And masterful cognition of cosmic truth. He's saying masterful in relation to the lower. But there can be even more masterful cognitions above. And that's a supermind. Masterful cognition of cosmic truth. So we perceive cosmic truth. In our normal mind, we perceive only relative truths. They are not absolute truths. They are relative truths. So this is masterful cognition of cosmic truth. Here then, we might hope to understand something of the original working of things. Get some insight into the fundamental movements of cosmic nature. So, we were trying to understand the nature of creation, from where it has come, and what is determining who has created this universe. So, when you are in the lower consciousness of the ignorance, we don't know. We can't solve any problem at all. Even science does not solve. It will tell you blankly, we don't know. Or if they are honest, they will say we don't know. But if they are not honest, they will say matter is the ultimate creator. They will tell you. But how do you know? Answer is we don't know. Okay? So, when you go to the higher mind, then truth is so large and so wonderful that you feel that you might get the solution. That's what he's saying. Okay? Here then, we might hope to understand something of the original working of things, which is the origin of the universe. Okay? Get some insight into the fundamental movements of cosmic nature. What are the forces that are determining everything here? One thing indeed becomes clear. Okay? So, it is evident here.
Self-evident.
Pardon?
Self-evident.
It is self-evident. Yeah, that's right. So, evident is different, self-evident is different. It is self-evident here that both the individual and the cosmos come from a transcendent reality which takes form in them. So, this needs a little bit of an explanation, because when Sri Aurobindo was in jail, okay, Vivekananda came to him and spoke to him about the supermind. And he spoke to him for a long period of time. Okay? He says in one place 15 days, in other places he says more than 15 days. He went on giving him knowledge of the supermind. So Sri Aurobindo knew that there is a plane of consciousness which is a supermind, and he knew the details. He had been described above the mind, normal mind. But when he came here in 1910 in Pondicherry, he was doing intense sadhana. And in 1926, he had the experience of the overmind consciousness. Not the experience, he had the realization. The overmind descended into him, and it is said that Sri Krishna himself descended into the body of Sri Aurobindo. So that's the overmind consciousness. Then he understood, because he had been described what the supermind is. Now he knows the overmind, and now he knows that the overmind is not the supermind. Okay? That's what he's saying.
But
here.
not just him, but it descended in the earth consciousness. No?
Pardon?
Not just his body, but it descended in the earth consciousness.
Well, his body is representative of the earth consciousness.
Right.
So when it goes into the, I told you just now, individual and are connected.
Are connected.
Okay. So So he knew at that time immediately that it is self-evident here that both individual and cosmos come from a transcendent reality. So the first level is the ignorance of body, mind, life. The second level is the cosmic consciousness, where you become far superior to what you are in the first level. So this is second level. But when you reach the second level, the highest of which is the overmind and the lowest of which is the higher mind, okay, you realize that, oh, there is something more, because what I've been told about this overmind is not this, it is something more. Okay, so that's what he's saying. It is self-evident here that both the individual and the cosmos come from a transcendent reality, the third reality, which takes form in them. So the transcendent is creating the cosmos and entering into the cosmos. Then from there, the cosmos creates the individual forms and enters again into the individual form. In other words, in us, there is the cosmic consciousness, and we can enlarge ourselves to it, but inside the cosmic consciousness also the divine, the transcendental. So it's like a bottle of 3 bottles. Or we like to call it the Russian doll. Okay, the Russian doll, you remove the head, the same doll, smaller size, is there inside. Okay, again you remove, again there is inside. It's exactly like that. Or you can think of the collapsible the binoculars or the telescope. You can pull out one by one and you push it in. That's what. So in us, there is the cosmic consciousness, and in the cosmic consciousness is also the transcendent consciousness. Okay, so you realize that there is a third level which takes form in them. Mind and life of the individual being, itself in nature, must therefore be a partial expression of the
self-expression.
Itself in nature must therefore be a partial self-expression of the cosmic being, and both through that and directly a self-expression of the transcendent reality. That's exactly what we spoke about just now. The transcendent creates a cosmos, enters into it. And now both the cosmos with the transcendent in it enters into the lower level and enters into matter. Okay, that's what he's describing. A conditional and half-veiled expression it may be, but still that is its significance. Now, a conditional and half-veiled expression. Okay, why? Because you see the divine here, but in the universe, you can see also the divine in the forms. So, if you see a stone and the divine presence in the stone, you are seeing it in the form. But there is an experience where you see it not in the form, but in the universe. And there is another experience which you see the universe, the divine in himself, without the universe and the individual. So there is the transcendent consciousness, there is the cosmic consciousness, and there is the individual consciousness. The divine can be seen in all the 3 planes. So that's what Srimad is explaining. When you see it in the lower, it's conditional. You are seeing the divine in the conditions of the physical world. And half-veiled expression, because he is hiding behind the form. Okay? But in the highest level, there is no form and there is no hiding. He reveals himself fully. But at that time, the cosmos is not there and the individual is not there. Okay? That's what he means by conditional and half-veiled expression. That may be. Okay? But still, that is its significance. So why is Srimad saying maybe? Because you can see the divine fully even in the physical world. That's also possible. So that's why maybe. But still, that is its significance. But also, we see that what the expression shall be is also determined by the individual himself. So, this we have to understand. I am seeing the physical world in one way, Nili will be seeing the physical world in another way, you will be seeing the physical world in another way. Why? Because my senses are different from yours, they are built in a different way. Okay? I may have a good sight, you may not have a good sight. So the senses that we are using, not only senses, our nature, the way we are built, each one is built in a different way. So we are seeing it with our instrumentation of our nature. So we are seeing it in a different way. That's what he's saying. Okay. But also we see that what the expression shall be. What is the expression? The divine in the cosmos and the individual. Okay. Shall be also determined by the individual himself. The way I see, others may not see it in that way. Okay. Only what he can in his nature receive, assimilate, formulate, his portion of the cosmic being or of the reality can find shape in his mind and life and physical parts. So, I'll put it this way. Let's say a graphic image we take, then it becomes clear. Okay? A huge amount of water, same condition, and it is pouring itself in all the vessels here. You are a vessel, I am a vessel, everybody else is a vessel. And all the shapes and colors of the vessels are different. One is tall and green. The other is flat and yellow. The another one is a round one and it is blue. So each one has got a different nature, and when the water is coming in, it is taking the shape of that vessel. So you are perceiving according to your nature and your build. That's what he's saying. Okay? So only what he can in his nature receive. And what's my nature? The shape of my, and the color and the form that I have. That's my nature. And that is body, mind, life. The body, the life and the mind. They are all different in each one. Okay? So there is a pure overmind consciousness, which is the water just now we described. But when it is entering into the forms, it is subject to the limitations of the perceiver. We can put it that way. Okay? So, only what he can in his nature receive, assimilate, formulate. Now, this is also interesting. Swamdha is using 3 words. Always we must see, Swamdha is very fond of explaining each possibility. So, first, we have to receive it. But if I receive it, I may not be able to understand it or assimilate it. So, I must be able to, I receive it, I get a glimpse, but I am not able to understand. Okay? Or I receive it and I assimilate it. Assimilated means it becomes part of me and I understand it fully. But now there is another thing. I have to give it a formulation. I have to express it. Okay? So that's a formulation. So you can see each word is different. There is a reception, there is an understanding and a making it your own, and there is a formulation. You give it a form. Whenever you think of something, you are giving it a form, isn't it? So it's the same in the spiritual planes of consciousness. You are picturing to yourself what it could be. So that picturing is the formulation. His portion of the cosmic being or of the reality can find shape in his mind and life and physical parts. Something that derives from the reality, something that is in the cosmos he expresses, but in the terms of his own self-expression, in the terms of his own nature. But the original question set out for us by the phenomenon of the universe is not solved by the overmind knowledge. So, the overmind knowledge, again, you still don't know what is the origin of the universe because you feel that there is something beyond the overmind. He has told you that right in the beginning. When you experience overmind, it's incomplete. So, therefore, something even higher than that. So, the phenomenon of the universe is not solved by the overmind knowledge. The question in this case, whether the building of thought, experience, world of perceptions of the mental person, the mind Purusha, is truly a self-expression, a self-determination, proceeding from some truth of his own spiritual being, a manifestation of that truth's dynamic possibilities, or whether it is rather it is not rather a creation, I was going to add not later on, or whether it is not rather a creation or construction presented to him by nature, by Prakriti, is only in the sense of being individualized in the personal formation of that nature can it be said to be his own or dependent on him. Or again, it might be a play of a cosmic imagination, a fantasia of the infinite imposed on the blank indeterminable of his own eternal pure existence. So there are three views which he has described. So view number one, the universal truth is there above the mind and it is entering into each individual and he is perceiving according to his own nature. Now what he is perceiving, is it more his own nature or is it the reality that he is seeing? That's the first question. Then the second question is, maybe universal mind is forcing something onto him. That's the other question. I remember, to make it even more graphic, I remember that when I was a student, I'm going a little personal, but it will explain to you what the thing is. I am very much interested in the Sri Aurobindo's teachings, okay? And I am reading. But the question arises in my mind, whether it is my own understanding and perception, a truth in me which is saying, I like what I am seeing, or is it imposed on me and by the conditions of the universe? Am I being brainwashed? That's what he is saying here. So there are these possibilities. I might be brainwashed by the cosmic universal consciousness itself. So what I am seeing, is that the reality? There are three possibilities. That's what he's saying here. So let's look at the three possibilities. Okay? So first is, you are perceiving the truth. Okay? And that is coming into you. So that is the origin of everything. Or how much of your individual is perceiving and how much are you distorting? Or is it that the universe is forcing something onto you? These are the three things that he is talking about. And according to these three views are the different philosophies that come. Okay? So these are the three views of creation that seem to have an equal chance of being right when you are in the overmind consciousness. Okay? And mind is incapable of deciding between them. For each view is armed with its own mental logic and its appeal to intuition and experience. So in the overmind consciousness, the experience that you have, you are unable to decide what the ultimate reality is. When you are in the higher mind consciousness, you see the physical world as unreal. Another thing we might point out here is that from the highest to the lowest, there are different worlds. There are different, like a staircase. But it's not like a staircase, it's more like a ramp because they run into each other. So, there is the physical world, there is the vital world, there is the mental world, but all of them are pure states, but they are running into each other. Okay? So, as you keep going from one level to another level, the laws go on changing and the instruments of knowledge also go on changing. So, when you are at the overmind consciousness, you still are not able to decide what is the reality which is above you. So, when you are in the higher mind, the physical world is unreal. When you are in the overmind, the physical world is not unreal, it seems to be real. So, what is the ultimate reality? That's what he is wanting to know. You can get the solution only when you go to the third level in the supermind. That's what he is going to tell you. These are the three views of creation that seem have an equal chance of being right. And mind is incapable of definitely deciding between them. For each view is armed with its own mental logic and its appeal to intuition and experience. Overmind seems to add to the perplexity, for the overmental view of things allows each possibility to formulate itself in its own independent right and realize its own existence in cognition, in dynamic self-presentation, in substantiating experience. So, let me put it in other words, then it will become very clear. Buddha says that the physical world is unreal, the superconscient is the only reality. That's one view that is presented. The world is false, there is nothing in it. It's only images. Shankara's philosophy says, it's not that the world is false, but the world is real, but there is imperfection here. So if you want the divine, you have to go to the superconscient. There is a second view. The first view, the world is unreal. If you want the divine, you have to go only to the superconscient. You have to deny this the reality of the physical world and go there. Okay? But Shankara says the world is not unreal because he believes in the Upanishads. The world is real. Sarvam khalu idam brahman. Everything is real. So, the world is real. But if you want the divine in himself, the real divine without the imperfections of the physical world, you have to go up. Sri Aurobindo comes and says, okay, this is true, that is true. But I go one step more and I say that the divine can be seen even here. It's not permanently imperfect. There's an evolution. So these are the three views that he is giving. He is describing here. Okay? So, yeah. So what he's saying here, I'm reading out the summary, then we'll go on to the next para. The overmind consciousness gives us a first view of cosmic truth. We see here that both the individual and the cosmos are sourced from a last higher reality. But the problem of the ultimate truth of determination remains unsolved. Where is the universe coming from? Three possibilities exist. The first one, the Purusha is creating. Prakriti, the universe, is the expression of that supreme reality, Satchidananda. Second possibility, Prakriti imposes its creation, even if real, on the self. And the third possibility, cosmic imagination imposes an unreal image on the Purusha. So this is what is three possibilities. Okay? So now we go to the next para. We have got time. We read the next para. So he has told you what the problem is. The problem of the origin of the universe does not get solved in the overmind consciousness. In overmind, in all the higher ranges of the mind. The higher ranges of the mind are higher mind, number one, illumined mind, intuitive mind and overmind. In all the higher ranges of the mind, we find recurring the dichotomy of a pure silent self without feature or qualities or relations, self-existent, self-poised, self-sufficient, and the mighty dynamis of a determinative knowledge power, of a creative consciousness and force which precipitates itself into the forms of the universe. So, we have to come back to the idea of what is Purusha and Prakriti. So, at the highest level, there is Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. Chit is consciousness. Shakti is force, power, energy, prana, movement. Consciousness is static. Force is movement. Knowledge and will, if you want. Consciousness, Chit, is knowledge and Shakti is will. Okay? Force. Now he is saying that in all these planes above, in the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness, you see both. You see Purusha and you see Prakriti. In the lowest one, in the higher mind, they seem to be different. I am seeing. I am myself in the consciousness of the self. I am infinite. I am eternal, relationless. The description is very fine. You can see here. Okay. Pure silent self without feature or qualities or relations, self-existent, self-poised, self-sufficient. There is experience of the Brahman consciousness or the witness self. It is pure. Pure suggests no mixture. In other words, only one. There is no multiplicity there. There is only one. Silent. In other words, no movement, no thought, no emotion, nothing. Okay? Without feature. No color, no shape, no form at all. It is something indeterminable. Remember, we are in the chapter Indeterminates and Indeterminable. So, when something is without features, you can't describe it. Okay? So, this is what you experience in the overmind consciousness. And you see the physical world in movement. But the movement seems to be an illusion. And you see both. But as you keep climbing up higher and higher, the quality of the relation between Purusha and Prakriti goes on changing. So, I'll again summarize for you. The Purusha consciousness is the self. Pure, one single, static, infinite, eternal, featureless. And the Shakti is the one that is with forms, it's a field of the many, and you see movement and you see transience, and also in that you see it as unreal in the first level. So this is what you see, the dichotomy. Dichotomy, the two, the difference. These are the two things that you see. The second one, the Shakti aspect, is saying mighty dynamis of a determinative knowledge power. Okay? It's power with knowledge inside it. And a creative consciousness and force which precipitates itself into the forms of the universe. So there is Purusha and Prakriti. You see both. This opposition, which is yet a collocation, now that's interesting. They seem to be two different things, but they are together. It's like two enemies, but they are in the same room. They are not opposed to each other, but they are together always. Purusha, Prakriti. Purusha is static, Prakriti is movement. Purusha is one, Prakriti is many. Okay? Purusha is knowledge, Prakriti seems to be unconscious. So this is what you see. Opposites. They seem to be opposition, which is yet a collocation. Collocation means together, they are there. As if these two were correlatives or complementaries. Okay? They seem to complement each other. Although apparent contradictions of each other, sublimates itself into the coexistence of an impersonal Brahman without qualities, a fundamental divine reality, free from all relations or determinates, and a Brahman with infinite qualities, a fundamental divine reality, who is the source and container and master of all relations and determinations. So, here you are, when he is saying that there is a featureless, qualityless divine reality, it's the impersonal aspect of the divine. And a Brahman with infinite qualities. If you want the Sanskrit terms, Nirguna and Saguna. Okay? Nirguna, no qualities at all, no features. But the other one, you see a Brahman with infinite qualities. He is a Saguna, the personal aspect of the divine. A fundamental divine reality who is the source and container and master of all relations and determination. There you are. Nirguna, Saguna. If we pursue the Nirguna into a farthest possible self-experience, we arrive at a supreme absolute void of all relations and determinations, the ineffable first and last word of existence. So you have a choice. The soul that has gone to that level has a choice. You are seeing two possibilities. I can go either Nirguna or I can go to Saguna. If you go to Nirguna, you disappear into the infinite. That's a Buddhistic solution. Nirguna, you disappear into the infinite. Even your own individuality also disappears. Okay? This is something worth discussing a little bit, because there are three possibilities when the individual soul goes to the second level. It sees both these things. There is a Prakriti and a Purusha. So you can go the Purusha way and you can go the Prakriti way, or you can also combine the two. So this is what he's saying. If you choose the Nirguna aspect, okay, Nirguna means featureless. So you can go into a farthest possible self-experience where I arrive at a supreme absolute void of all relations. A relation means I can have a relation with only something else. So relation implies multiplicity. So there is no multiplicity there. There is only oneness. It's a sea which is absolutely one without a single wave. Okay? You can disappear into that. You become the sea. Okay? So that's a possibility one possibility. If we pursue the Nirguna into the farthest possible self-experience, we arrive at a supreme absolute void. Void. Okay? Void means nihil. That's why the Buddhists say shunyam, nihil. Okay? It is nothing. No relation, nothing. And determinations, the ineffable first and last word of existence. That is the ultimate truth of the existence of the world. That's what the Buddhists say, the Mayavadins also. Now, if on the other hand, if you enter through the Saguna into some ultimate possible of experience, we arrive at a divine absolute, a personal supreme and omnipresent Godhead, transcendent as well as universal, and infinite master of all relations and determinations, who can uphold in his being a million universes and pervade each with a single ray of his self light and a single degree of his ineffable existence. So, if you pursue the Saguna, the personal aspect of the divine, you can reach a consciousness which is a supermind, in which the divine is impersonal as well as personal. And he holds the whole universe himself in one corner of his being. That's what Swami is saying. Look at the language. A personal, supreme, and omnipresent Godhead. He is there everywhere. Omnipresent. In all the three planes. Okay? Transcendent and universal. An infinite master of all relations and determinations, which is the lowest level, who can uphold in his being a million universes and pervade each with a single ray of his self-light and a single degree of his ineffable existence. So infinite that million universes also are just one single ray of his. Okay? So this is the Purushottama, or in Sri Aurobindo language, the Ishvara. The Purushottama of the Bhagavad Gita. Uttama Purusha. Okay? So the overmind consciousness maintains equally these two truths of the eternal, which face the mind as mutually exclusive alternatives. So when you go to the overmind consciousness, both the possibilities are there. Therefore, you can't decide what is the ultimate truth. Okay? It admits both as supreme aspects of one reality. There are two aspects, Saguna, Nirguna. Both are real. But which is which? You have to decide. Somewhere then, behind them, there must be a still greater transcendence which originates them and holds them both in its supreme eternity. If there are two here and you have a choice, there must be somewhere else where there is no choice and there is only one reality. So he is assuming that there will be something else. Everybody need not assume that. Okay? Because they are so satisfied with one experience, they find it so satisfying that they remain there permanently in that, either here or there. Okay? So, in fact, in the synthesis of yoga, he says that so dazzling is the first experience of the divine, and even at the lowest level, even at the higher mind level, it is so dazzling that you get the impression that that is the ultimate reality, and you get stuck there. That's why nobody wants to go beyond. In our Indian yoga, liberation is enough. But for Sri Aurobindo, liberation is not enough. That's the first step. You have to go beyond that and come down, become a instrument of the divine and work for the divine here. That is Sri Aurobindo's view. Okay, so somewhere then behind them, there must be a still greater transcendence which originates them and upholds them both in its supreme eternity. But what can that be of which such opposites are equal truths, unless it be an original, indeterminable mystery of which any knowledge, any understanding by the mind is impossible? We can know it indeed to some degree in some kind of experience or realization by its aspects, powers, constant series of fundamental negatives and positives through which we have to pursue it, independently in either or integrally in both together. But in the last resort, it seems to escape even from the highest mentality and remain unknowable. So, if you are in the cosmic consciousness stuck in the overmind consciousness, you don't know what that ultimate reality is. It is unknowable to you.
Like, as you read this, it gives me the feeling that, Sri Aurobindo is here talking about the mother's consciousness, because even in the book, The Mother, Like he mentions,
The what?
like
The mother.
the mother. He mentions, right, like the mother's consciousness. Even the quickest mind cannot follow her
Yes.
actions.
Yes.
So over here, the language seems a little bit similar to that.
What? Which part?
You know. But in the last resort, it seems to escape even from the highest mentality and remain unknowable. And
See, what you are referring to in the mother is the creatrix.
yes,
Okay, she is the Shakti, the universal Shakti,
Mahashakti,
and she is the one that mediates between the highest,
highest
and
and
the
the
lowest.
lowest.
She is the
Mediator.
mediatrix.
Mediatrix.
Okay? So, what her ways of working are, the human mind does not understand. That's what it means in the mother.
Right.
So when you are in the lower level of consciousness, it is impossible to understand what is there. Okay. So even that confusion is there even in the higher mind level. That's what it's telling you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll stop here today.